Hello and thanks for joining me today. In today's video I want to talk a little bit about the value of not breathing and introduce you to the control pause measurement and the extended pause measurement that's commonly used in the Buteyko breathing system. So we hear a lot of advice if we want to relax, let's take a deep breath, and as we've talked about in other videos, a lot of times people think a deep breath is a big breath. And when I usually tell people, give me a big breath out, they first start off and they go, and they draw a bunch of air in, and they do this huge breath in that really stresses out and jacks up their system as they prepare to take a big breath out. So I find myself trying not to cue people by saying, take a big breath out, but instead start the breath with a breath out either through your mouth or through your nose for 5 seconds. And I'm telling them to increase the duration so that instead of them thinking about the intensity and making it this big exaggerated motion, that they're just going to, in a relaxed sense, go and get their air out. Once that air is out, I want them to not breathe. And this is known in PRI as the expiratory pause, the pause at the end of exhalation. In the Buteyko breathing system, this is known as either a control pause or an extended pause. So before we get into what a control pause or an extended pause is, before we get into those, let's talk about why you want to do that. So as we've talked about before, when you exhale, your diaphragm travels upwards and assumes its domed, relaxed position before it takes a next breath. And in good sound breathing pattern and mechanics, there's a natural pause between the end of your inhalation phase, so from when you take a breath in, before you take a breath out, and there's also a pause at the end of the exhalation phase when you've already gotten all your air out and you're awaiting the next breath in. Now we know from PRI science that people tend to, especially on the left side, get a tonic diaphragm that starts to act as a postural muscle that's holding them up, as opposed to just the pure respiratory muscle that they're using for breathing. And so if you're using a muscle that's meant for breathing to hold you up, that means A, it can't work as well as it should for respiration, and B, the muscles that are supposed to hold you up there, i.e. your abdominal muscles, they go on vacation because they're not getting used as much. So that's not a good thing from a mechanical perspective. And then from a neurological, autonomic nervous system perspective, stress perspective, if you can't relax your breathing muscle fully, it is less efficient for you to take that next breath in, and you are actually stuck in a state of inhalation or a state of sympathetic nervous system stress on maybe one side or maybe both sides of your body. And that is not a good thing, because globally the muscular tone in your body is going to be increased and the expression of stress hormones is also going to be increased. Okay, and all the things that go along with a fight or flight stress response are going to be increased relative to what you want, right? When we rest, we want to be fully rested. So at the end of an exhalation, follow it out, keep breathing out. Now, hopefully, your diaphragm has started to dome up into that relaxed position and your system is starting to chill out. Now comes the pause, right? Many of us are stuck in this inhaled state where this diaphragm is resting low, it's very tonic. So when we exhale and we pause, this is where the magic comes in. You've started to reestablish that dome of the diaphragm. Okay, hopefully your body's in a good position. We've talked about that in other videos. But now you're going to pause on that exhalation and you're trying to learn how to let your body relax and get used to that feeling of having no air in. You're trying to let that diaphragm come into its dome position and then relax, let go of the tension in your diaphragm, let go of the tension in your body, because you want that diaphragm to fully release and not just to come up positionally, but also relax any tone it has, right? You don't want it to be, I exhale and I pull my abs down, this diaphragm domes up, but it still has more tone than I want it to, right? You want it to fully relax. So as you extend that pause at the end of exhalation, that diaphragm has a chance to relax more. And as you feel that feeling of, I'm hungry for air, you just need to consciously let go. Okay? You do that, all of a sudden, that sympathetic nervous system stress response comes way down, and you're starting to reset your system to a lower, more efficient work of breathing. And so this is where the Buteyko breathing system comes in, because they're talking about deep breathing in the context of reduced work of breathing. So when you're breathing through your nose and you're breathing more towards an exhaled state, right? So a more starting domed position of the diaphragm, you are able to decrease basically all that system stress in your body, and you're going to be a more efficient diaphragm and nasal breather because of it. Okay, and then that translates to better performance mentally and better posture and performance physically. Okay, and then that's where the PRI thinking come in. So as a way to start people on day one when they see me, depending on how they're breathing, I may have them actually start with just practicing diaphragmatic breathing, and the first measurement we take is called a controlled pause. This is a Buteyko breathing measurement. And what the controlled pause is it's basically how long you can pause comfortably for after you've taken a normal exhalation. So if you breathe in, breathe out, and just do a normal breath out. Don't push it. Just notice your breath out. Then pinch your nose. And you're going to hold here with your breath out, and you're going to watch the clock. As you're doing this, you're trying to relax the diaphragm, relax your body. And whenever you feel the first need for air, take a gentle breath in. And don't take a big breath in. If you had to take a big breath in after your pause, that basically means that you pushed your pause past what is controlled for your body. So that is not a controlled pause. That's actually more the extended pause we'll get into in a second. But as you measure the ability to pause after a normal exhale, prior to the first real need for air, whatever that time is between when you pause and when you feel the first real, true need for air, that is the controlled pause measurement. And that basically tells you how many people am I breathing for right now. A true ideal controlled pause is going to be around 40 seconds. Okay, and a lot of people are going to start out in that 10, 12 second, 8 second range, especially if they're having physical problems or even, stress-related problems. So if you're breathing, if your control pause is 10 seconds, you're breathing for about 4 people, right? And if you're doing the work of 4 people throughout the day, that's a lot of system stress, right? Both mechanically and just neurologically in terms of your autonomic nervous system that you're putting onto your system. And what are the chances you're shutting that down at night? Probably not that good. So you're sleeping in a stress state, you're never getting fully recovered. During the day, you're putting all this extra energy into your breathing that you don't even know you're doing, and you get stuck in that state. And so that expiratory pause is a way to reset. So once you learn how to do a control pause, then you'll do reduced work of breathing sets, where you're trying to breathe less and less exclusively through the nose, okay? And as you're breathing, you should develop this hunger for air, and you're just letting your system chill and get used to that, okay? Once you kind of master that, just the reduced work of breathing, then you're going to introduce what are called these extended pauses. And so at this point, you should already be comfortable with your control pause, and you should be already comfortable with a relatively reduced work of breathing, where you're minimally able to notice your own breath, breathing exclusively through the nose for several minutes, okay? This extended pause is a normal breath out through the nose or the mouth. Then you pinch, and now you're going to hold for a longer period of time. So as you start to feel that first need for air, you're going to keep holding, right? And if you have to kind of distract yourself, move while you do it, walk while you do it, that's fine. But you're going to hold 5 or 10 seconds past what your controlled pause is. And then immediately after that extended pause, you're going to go right back into that controlled breathing. So your system's going to be like, whoa, I'm really hungry for air. And then you're going to try to immediately calm it down and start doing that reduced work of breathing work so that your body gets used to operating at a lower level of system stress. And mechanically, what's really going on is you've allowed the diaphragm to fully relax, okay? And then as you continue to do that reduced work of breathing, you're using that diaphragm more closely to its domed, relaxed state, okay? And this is where I like to inject a little bit of PRI here, because we know that left diaphragm is holding us up a little bit more than the right side. So if we can direct our mind and attention towards this left hemi diaphragm as we breathe out and keep the air out and start going to that reduced work of breathing, and we try to think about letting the body sink down through a left sit bone and through a left rib cage and abdominal, left shoulder lower than right, and try to just let go of that left side with gravity, let gravity pull us down into our seat. As we do that reduced work of breathing, as we do that extended pause measurement, then we're going to get more grounding on our left side, and we're going to reduce that torque that we all have as a result of how we're built. Okay, so that's about it for today's video. To review, we do an expiratory pause to reset the nervous system and to return the diaphragm to a relaxed, domed position. Okay, we do a control pause as a baseline measurement of how hard we're breathing. An ideal measurement is 40 seconds. So whatever that measurement is, figure that out versus 40 and you'll know how many people you're breathing for, which is interesting. And then your extended pause is basically a controlled pause, but with 5 or 10 extra seconds of holding, so the hunger for air is going to increase. And between either a controlled pause or an extended pause, you want to do reduced work of breathing, where you're breathing exclusively through the nose, as quietly, as unnoticeably as possible, and getting used to that feeling of having a hunger for air. And while you're doing that, you're trying to let your body relax. You're trying to picture that diaphragm doming up and everything is sinking down with gravity, especially on the left side, keeping that PRI stuff in mind. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching today. See you in the next video, hopefully. Peace.